In this video, we are going to learn about IP addresses. Now, what is an IP address? An IP address geographically identifies devices connected to the internet. So let's draw a box here. Alright, it's not going to be the most perfect box in the world. Alright, and we're going to draw a box over here as well. And this one also is not going to be the most perfect box in the world. And as you can see, they are different sizes on the y-axis. But we're going to write an IP address at the top. So we're just going to do, so this one's 111.12.111.61. This one's going to be 111.111.111.31. Okay? So they are different, as you can see. Now, let's say this computer wants to send a message that's just M and Y, so my. Alright, so we're going to write that out in binary. Alright, so it's going to be 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1 for M. And then it's going to be 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. So our message is my. Now, if we need to send the message to over here, this computer must be connected to an IP address. Alright? Now, for this device to respond back with, let's just say K. So we're going to do 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So this one's connected to an IP address. That's good, so it can send here. But for it to respond, it must be connected to an IP address as well. Alright, so an IP address lets you send the messages. Alright, and then you can send messages back and forth between computers as long as you both have IP addresses. And this is kind of where you see if you go on an app like Discord and you want to chat with someone, you have to be connected to some form of internet and have IP address active to send a message to someone else. Alright, so they cannot be sent unless you have an IP address. Alright, now let's talk about types of IP addresses. Alright, so let's draw a timeline. I know. We're going to go do a little bit of history here. This is a really bad timeline. I'm sorry. Let's go do a little better one. I don't know if that's better or worse, but that's okay. Over here, we're going to draw two lines. This one's going to be 1980. We'll do 1980. And let's do 2017. Okay? So, in 1980, IPv4 was released. Now in 2017, IPv6 was released. Let me make sure I spell that right. I did not spell that right. No, I did not. I'm just going to fix it for this one, though. Okay? So, in 1980, IPv4 released. IPv4 is the oldest IP address that you can have. There are over 4 billion IPv4 addresses. Then for IPv6 addresses, there is over 340 undecillion. Alright? Undecillion. I think that's how you say it. And undecillion, that's like 36 zeros after the 340. So that's a lot of IP addresses and devices that can have an IPv6 address. Alright? So this was created because they were going to realize there was not going to be enough IP addresses for enough devices that can fit IP addresses. So there'll be enough IP addresses to fit the devices. Alright, so they had to get more IP addresses, so this was made. And we still have a ton of more devices to be made before we run out of this. We won't have to worry about making like an IPv7, IPv8 for a long time. IPv4 addresses are going to look something like here in our box. That's going to be an IPv4 address. Now an IPv6 address is going to look something like this. Now this isn't going to be the full length of an IP address. We're going to move that over a little bit. But there's going to be 8 of these. So this is just 6, but there's going to be 8 of these. So IPv6 address, there's going to be 8 of these. And then here, there's around that many. that are around, and there's going to be that many that are around, 340 undecillion, and then about around 4 billion IPv4 addresses. Okay? So that's how an IP address for each one is going to be written. There's going to be letters in here. Now, these letters, we're just going to circle these, are actually hexadecimals. So we got hexadecimals in here. That's what makes it longer. That's why there's so many of these IP addresses that can be given. Alright? Now I'd be like, wait, my IP address can change. And remember, 36 zeros. Now I said earlier, your IP address can change. You've probably seen it happen before. So how can your IP address change? Well, your IP address changes if you have these two things. At least in this video, there's two things. There's probably more of those. There is switching Wi-Fi. That's going to change your IP address. And then if you have a dynamic IP address, and I may be wondering what's a dynamic IP address. That's where your IP address changes more frequently than a static IP address. I'm just going to write IP add. That's a really bad P. But that's where your IP address changes more frequently, and it also costs your internet service provider to be saving more money. So this costs less money for your ISP, or your internet service provider. Now, you can actually check your IP address. So there's a website that you can go to, and you can, it's called, I'll move this over here a little bit. It's called What Is My IP.org. There will be a link in the description if you want to go to this website, and there will be a card not above the video because I don't have access to links yet. But this is where you can locate your IP address, and there's also more useful websites as well that you can search for them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something about IP addresses in this video.